Hey Fruit Faces, it's Clary Berry and Rocky, of course, just napping as usual. We're going to talk with you today about a little bit about IBS, a little bit about adrenal function. If I can get this all in one video, I will. If not, I'll split it up into two. But the reason I want to talk about this and the reason why I got into thinking about these issues is because there's been this girl that has been on my friends list for a while on Facebook, and then we became friends on Instagram, and she is a paleo person, and she actually runs this big website and blog. No, not big. She runs a website and a blog, trying to sell Young Living and anti-sugar and all this different stuff. She went paleo apparently in 2013 because she was diagnosed with IBS, and per her own research, she thought that that would be good, even though that was like not the advice that basically she was told. She just basically researched this, she said. And so she went paleo, and she's been eating a shit ton of meat. She blocked me on her Instagram page because I was like, clean eating, really? I don't think so. So anyway, I just want to talk about this because there's a lot of conflicting information. I mean, obviously, there's still a lot of conflicting information out there about heart disease and cancer, but with IBS, I think there's even more because it's not quite as big. So basically, from the studies that I can find that look legit, IBS is actually, not good to be eating a lot of meat on because it's all about digestion. You want to eat foods that are easily absorbable before they get to the intestines. And of course, we all know that, that is not the case for meat. Meat is not easily digested in any sense of the word. Okay, so meat and lactose are, of course, the number one things to avoid, especially, if you have a lactose intolerance or something like that. And food intolerances can be a good thing to do. But if you look at, I saw an article in the HuffPost referring to a Harvard study, which was actually the most scientific thing that I've read so far on IBS, talking about the microbiome and just all different IBD diseases, and talking about how meat is really, really bad for this, despite there's, some random people out there saying that meat is so good for this. So I hope my phone doesn't die here. But basically, this Harvard medical study found that meat significantly affected the microbes and they lead to, greater bile tolerant bugs, which is, again, not what you want. And, it's what happened was this chick went paleo and tried to say that it cleared up all her symptoms. And yet, here it is, almost 3 years later, and she's still having major problems with her health. And what it's led to has now become adrenal fatigue, and she's actually got HPA, axis dysregulation. She's on stage 3 adrenal fatigue, which is basically like complete burnout. And she admits, obviously her gut function still needs improving. So for one, I just want to call her out on being a little bit of false advertising here, because in some of the blogs and on her about page, you can see very clearly it says, oh, my symptoms are healed after going paleo. And then it's like, wait a second, you still have gut problems. Obviously you didn't heal a fucking thing. So some of the things that she's looking into are completely baffling to me, and the advice from wherever she's getting it, I don't know. Like I said, you can go check out her page. It's CaseyPaleoGirl.com, and basically she's going to be taking vitamin C, which, first of all, the vitamin C vitamin is usually ascorbic acid, and it's the outside shell of vitamin C, completely not a whole food supplement, and it's not very good for you. There's been studies that show that it's not helpful, doesn't do that. So for her to be supplementing with vitamin C when she could be getting these very important nutrients from her diet just doesn't make any sense to me at all. She's also talking about taking different hormones, and I'm just like, really? You're going to add more hormones into your body with all the other hormones you're getting from all these animals? That sounds like a cocktail for disaster. She's also focusing a lot on probiotics, which are okay, but there's been a lot of new studies and new talk about how you need prebiotics and not just probiotics, and how actually probiotics don't do much if you're not having enough prebiotics. So your prebiotics are basically your high fiber fruits and vegetable foods, which, to her credit, she does tend to eat an average amount of vegetables per, like, compared to standard American diet, but still you have to eat that much to counteract that kind of meat consumption. And the plates, just, I have always heard from Chinese medical doctors that you should eat 4 times. If you're going to eat meat, you should eat 4 times as many vegetables as meat every single time. And, it never even comes, her plate on Instagram never even comes close to that. So one thing that I found was really funny, not funny, kind of sad, because I tried to tell her, years ago, she's had me blocked for years, probably. I tried to tell her, you need carbs, carb the fuck up. And what does she come out now and say this year, 2015, it was actually back in spring when she posted all of this about her adrenal function problems and all of this. And interestingly enough, there hasn't been a post since, which is kind of fishy to me. If you found healing, then you might want to talk about it, right? So anyway, she basically admitted, I don't know, it was module 4 if you're looking for it, or module 3, that it was from March 2013, I think, that she is eating way too low carb, and she had to have tests to show her that that was true. And I'm just like, oh my God. And you're still promoting paleo? Like, this doesn't make any sense at all. She said she's eating way too low carbs, and after adding back a lot more carbs to her diet, she has been feeling more energetic despite the fact that she's not drinking coffee anymore. I wonder why. This is just typical paleo shit, it really is. So again, she's claiming that she's free from her symptoms from IBS, GERD, constipation, etc., and she's still having gut problems. It doesn't make any sense. And I really think she needs to just scrap the whole thing and stop lying to her, to her people, to the world. So there's a lot of misconceptions about fiber and everything else. A lot of people say you need to eat meat, but a lot of these websites are not actual doctors saying eat meat if you have IBS. Eat meat. Some websites will even say don't eat a lot of, fiber. But from what I've seen, again, from reputable sources, says that you need fiber. You need to get used to it. You need to have like a build-up period, but you need fiber. You need it every day, and that's going to help. So it just doesn't make any sense. And people talk about, IBS, and they're talking about, paleo. And it's like, I've said this many times, but it comes back in the literature. Our ancestors, especially at that period in time, they were just figuring out tools, just figuring out fire. And then you think they're eating all of this amount of meat when actually it's very volatile. The meat consumption is very volatile. Even once they figured out how to cook and how to use the tools, they still had to deal with seasonal changes, and they had to deal with, successful foraging. And there are many, many days where my, family that hunts will go out hunting. Actually, in the past, in all the time that my boys have gone hunting with them, with my dad, they haven't got a single thing. So if it's 2015 and these people are having trouble with a gun finding food with all the knowledge that we have at this day and age, how easy do you think it was for Paleolithic man and woman to be eating high fat at every single meal? It's fantasy. It's fake bullshit. So anyway, like I said, the good studies that I've looked up say reduce your fat intake overall. Take away dairy. Red meat obviously is the worst of all of the meats, but WebMD says that beef and pork and lamb are also not good for IBS. If you go to helpforibs.com, they talk about red meat, dark poultry meat, and the skin is along with dairy and egg yolks as being very bad for IBS. They also go on to list, anything fried, anything with butter, mayonnaise, salad dressings, etc., which are all, not really eaten on Raw Till 4 high carb, low fat vegan lifestyle. Living Green magazine talks about how you can heal. We're getting on to stress a little bit. I think I'm going to break this up and we'll talk about the adrenals in a follow-up video. So just know that, high consumption of fat is not what you want. High consumption of very hard to digest meats is not what you want if you have IBS. I actually had IBS. I was never diagnosed because I avoid hospitals and doctors unless they're like Chinese medical doctors almost at all costs. I really have to be in a bad way. And when I was doing my research, they wouldn't even consider you for having IBS unless you'd have symptoms for a year. I only had symptoms for about that time. And when I started to go vegetarian, the symptoms started to decline. And as I became vegan, my IBS symptoms are non-existent. I don't have an afternoon slump. I don't get tired after I eat. And I do eat wheat and I do eat gluten. And sometimes I eat higher fat. I'm not perfect. I still drink beer. And maybe sometimes wine, and I still am feeling great, have tons of energy. And yeah, so this is my IBS Paleo Casey response. Let me know what you guys think. Casey Paleo, let me know how you feel about it. Let me know how you're feeling. Let me know if there's an update, because there's been, like I said, no update on the blog for all this time. So yeah, thanks for watching. Take care. Don't forget to eat your fruit, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Bye.